All right, guys, happy Monday. Okay, this video is a requested video from previous viewers, those who are interested in our pre-law, law school, and beyond playlist. Check it out. I'm going to show you. We have almost 100 videos in there right now. But this video is requested because someone who is studying for the bar exam for February 2023 bar exam asked me on one of my lives, I think it was on my Legal Writing Made Easy live, asked me, can I do a real life exam, like an essay exam, and how do I go through it so that they can get some tips about how to approach the essay exam. The essay exam, it's not, well, that wasn't my hardest part of the exam. Multiple choice was, but I can understand why people have struggles with the with the essays. So I wanted to hop on here with a real exam and kind of walk through how I would approach it. Granted, there's other ways to approach things, but this is how I would approach an essay exam and then kind of break it down with you. So if you're new to the channel, I'm LaRita. I'm an attorney. I've been practicing for over 10 years now. And Tracy is another attorney on the channel. If you're new to the channel, consider subscribing to us and hit the thumbs up button. It pushes us out so that YouTube recommends it to other aspiring law students. We have a lot of different playlists, personal finance, travel vlogs, veterans benefits, reaction videos. We have something for just about everybody. So check it out if you're new here. And if you're coming here just because you like, I need some help how to do essays, whether it applies to bar exam or law school exam essays, then you're in the right place. I'm going to share my screen with you in a second so you can see an actual exam and then how we would approach it, how I would approach it, and you may approach it differently, but I'm going to break it down for you. So let me share my screen with you. Let's see. I'm going to try to see so you can still see me too. And then make it as big for you as possible so you can see it if you're viewing from a phone, because I know sometimes it's harder to see my screen when you're viewing on a phone. So this is actually an exam, and I just put a preface out there. I don't know the answers, the real answer, what the professor Zabluski wanted for this exam, but this is a real life exam, and I'm going to kind of walk it through with you so that you can figure out how to approach it. And just with any exam, whether it's a law school exam or a bar exam, it's going to be a timed environment, right? So you should always practice taking essays just as a matter of, of course, time yourself. So let's say give yourself 20 minutes to answer the exam, because on the bar exam, you'll have, I believe, 5 essays you'll have to do. So you want to get in the habit of doing multiple essays in a timed environment so that you can, duplicate that when you have to go on a law exam or on a bar exam. So keep that in mind. So this exam is from a law school. I think this is Touro Law School. I didn't look up the answer. I guess I can put the answer that the professor was looking for in the description box, but I don't know the answer that this professor was looking for. This is just showing you how to approach essay exams when you're looking. So what I usually do is when I get the exam, I read through the fact pattern once, and then I go back through and I'm actually highlighting certain things within the fact pattern that stand out to me, right? So I do it first because what I usually do is also read the instructions that come at the end, because what you don't want to do is start approaching essay exam and then realize like that's not even what they're asking about, right? So you kind of want to know the scope of the question, know what they're telling you to answer, what they're telling you to avoid. So we're going to do this real quick because I'm trying to make it within a timed environment to kind of replicate what you should be doing at home. So let's read it through real quick, and then I'll go through and say what stuck out for me. If you're hopping on this live now, go ahead and say hi in the chat box. If you're watching this on the replay game, let me know the things that stood out for you on our first read through, and then we'll see if those are the things that I also realized stood out when I did my first read through. So let's see. Global oil ships oil in tankers. The tankers sail from Alaska to California. 2 years ago, Global hired Popeye as captain of one of its tankers, the Pequod. Global did not subject Popeye to any medical examination before hiring him or at any time during the period of his employment. So he's been employed there for 2 years. Last year, Popeye consumed a large quantity of alcohol at a party aboard the Pequod during one of its voyages. If any log exam or bar exam, somebody's going to have some drinking in one of your questions. Keep that in mind. And I'll tell you what it kind of should cue you to think about. It was the first time Popeye ever drank, and he became intoxicated. Popeye then went to the bridge to pilot the ship. Bad idea. He soon struck an iceberg. The accident damaged the steering mechanism of the ship, making it difficult to handle. After this incident, Popeye went to his cabin and fell asleep. Okay. Brutus, okay, so we got another person introduced to the fact pattern. Brutus, a lowly seaman with no sailing experience, saw his chance. He tied up Popeye and locked him in his cabin. Then Brutus, because of his inexperience and the damage to the steering mechanism, could not control the ship. The ship ran aground and spilled its cargo of oil. The oil washed ashore and damaged land belonging to Olive. Okay, so that's 3 people plus the company, Global Oil. Brutus then ran back to Popeye's cabin, untied him, and left the cabin door unlocked. Several hours later, Popeye awoke and reported the incident. All right, so let me make it a little small so I can scroll down. An applicable statute states any company employing an individual as a captain of a sailing vessel must periodically test the individual for drug or alcohol abuse. If such abuse is discovered, the company must relieve the individual of duty. Olive has filed suit against Global, Popeye, and Brutus. Discuss the causes of action raised by the above situation. Do not discuss vicarious liability or intentional torts to property. All right, so that's the fact pattern, right? So on first view, what do you guys kind of think stood out for you? Because I noticed certain things, and this is on the bar exam. You kind of don't know what the topic is going to be. They just give you a whole bunch of essays, fact patterns, and you got to kind of figure out what topic they're testing. So off the bat, what do you think? What topic do you think they're testing? And I think it came to mind. Possibly, well, several things came to mind. Civ Pro came to mind because I saw they mentioned 2 states, Alaska to California. And I'm like, okay, when you're talking about jurisdiction and you want to be in federal court, you have 2 states, residents of 2 states, and the amount of controversy over 75,000. So maybe Civ Pro, but I didn't see any amount in controversy. So I was like, well, maybe it's not Civ Pro. I start seeing other things happening. So I'm thinking it might be a torts test, right? And then you start thinking about your intentional torts, you start thinking about negligence, and you start thinking about the defenses. So if you watch my other videos, if you haven't, I did legal writing, how to write an exam. When you're looking at any kind of set of fact patterns, what you want to always do is look for at least 3 issues that are going to be tested. The bar examiners, the law professors, they're here to make sure that they're testing a certain amount of issues. So at minimum, you're going to look for at least 3 issues that they're testing, plus any possible defenses to the issues that you brought up, right? So if you went through and you only found 2, you better go back again and make sure you go figure out something else that they might be testing. What I find is that some law students or people sitting for the bar exam, they see issues and they're like, well, that doesn't apply because of this, and they just keep moving. What you want to not do is, unless they tell you to not discuss it, to acknowledge that you have spotted the issue and say, however, this issue is not applicable because whatever, right? It gives the bar examiner, gives the law professor adequate notice that you have recognized the issue and you've realized like this is not a major issue. Some of these things may be minor issues, right? What the idea of a bar exam or even a law school exam is to test your abilities to spot issues. Why? Because when you become a lawyer, it's not, when a client comes to you, it's not packaged like this in a nice little fact pattern. What usually happens is the client comes in and dumps all the information on you, like talks about relevant and irrelevant things. And your job as an attorney is to be able to spot what issues are possible causes of action, identify if there's any statute limitations, identify have you reached your statute limitations for any issues, or if you need to herp and file. You have to sort through all these things from a client coming and telling you. The fact pattern that you get on a bar exam or on a law school exam is very, very neatly packaged. And in this situation, they actually give you an applicable statute, right? So you can go from there. So I want to start with that, saying like, these are the things you should be thinking about, go back through. So let's go back through again, and I'll try to make it a little bigger so that we can kind of so you can see as I'm going through. So as I go through, so Global Oil is one of the people here, and they said that Olive has filed suit against Global, Popeye, and Brutus. So what I would do if I was you, I would bring up a screen if you're taking the test or if you're writing down. We're doing Olive v. Global, Olive v. Popeye. Let me see if I can bring it up while I'm talking to you guys so that you guys can see it, like how I would do it. All right, I'm gonna bring up Word and then I'll try to share Word with you. I don't know if it'll let me show multiple screens, but let's see. Okay, so share screen. I'm gonna try to share the screen so you can see. Actually, they're not gonna let me try. They're not gonna let me do both. Let me leave up the fact pattern so you guys can see that because that's important. Okay. All right, so I won't share my screen for Word. I'll just tell you what I would do. So I would start off with, because they told us that the Olive has filed suit against two people in one company. So you do Olive v. Global, Olive v. Popeye, Olive v. Brutus. So in essence, those are at least your three issues right there, right? Because you have three suits against each. Now, they didn't ask you whether these suits are going to be successful or not. So like as I mentioned before, do not mention it because you think that she'll fail on her claim. They're just asking you what are the possible causes of action, right? And if you're hopping in, make sure you say hi in the chat box and let me know that you're here. Hopefully the people that have requested this video are watching it, even if it's on the replay, and let me know that you're here, and hopefully that this video is being helpful to you. All right, so I start off with those three things. Olive v. Global, Olive v. Popeye, Olive v. Brutus, right? So that's why I put in kind of space them apart so I have enough room to write or type any information in between those three causes of action. What I'll also do is make sure I don't discuss anything that they said don't discuss. So at the end of the thing, they said do not discuss vicarious liability, meaning like an employer-employee situation or intentional towards the property. They said do not discuss those things. All right, so I know what to avoid. The third thing they have at the bottom of the fact pattern is an applicable statute. Any company employing an individual as captain of a sailing vessel must periodically test the individual for drug or alcohol abuse. And if abuse is discovered, the company must relieve the individual of duty. All right, so we know that didn't happen in this situation because in the fourth sentence of the first paragraph, Global did not subject Popeye to any medical examination before hiring him or any time during his period of employment, right? So that statute speaks to Global's not doing it, but we'll also see later on that says that him drinking, this was his first time. So even if they haven't subjected him to testing, even if they had subjected him to testing, it perhaps wouldn't have been an issue because this was his first time drinking. So, but they want you to at least acknowledge that you've seen that and say whether this factors into it. So one thing that's glaring to me that comes up is negligence, right? That's one thing I saw when he was operating a ship after he was drinking, negligence. And also when Brutus tied up Popeye and then locked him in a cabin, that is false imprisonment. It might even be some assault in there. I don't know, because he said that he tied him up. But it brings up at least negligence and false imprisonment between Brutus putting Popeye. But then did Popeye know he was in prison, right? Because you have to have knowledge that you can't get out. Like if you can't get out, you have to be aware that you can't get out and things of that nature, right? But these are things that you're going to go into detail once you identify the causes of action, because it says discuss the causes of action raised by above. So what you would do is it's 3 paragraphs here. You would take it paragraph by paragraph to see if anything pops out from you from each paragraph. So as I mentioned, it says that in the first paragraph, they hired Popeye 2 years ago as captain of one of their tankers and operates from Alaska to California, and they didn't subject him to anything. So negligence on their part. And this is, remember, Olive is suing Global, Popeye, and Brutus. So she would sue Global for negligence for not perhaps doing any medical examinations or periodic testings. because they is an employer-employee situation. Him consuming alcohol, this is voluntary intoxication, although this is not criminal, but when you have a bar exam, you may not know what the issue is. So you might say that it was criminal that he actually operated driving while intoxicated. And this is voluntary intoxication, which is not a defense to specific intent crimes, right? But I don't think that's one of the issues. You can still write it down because you're just trying to figure out what they're trying to pull out. Remember, I said we're going to look for at least 3 things, and we have 3 causes of action here. 3 lawsuits: Global, Popeye, and Brutus. So Popeye is the one that struck an iceberg, and then it caused damage to the mechanism of the ship, making it hard to handle. Then he went to sleep. So that's even further negligence, right? Brutus, the one that's actually caused the boat to spill the oil, which ended up damaging Olive's land, right? So the issue with Brutus is also negligence, operating a vehicle that he had no sailing experience with in that situation. What else do you guys see from those particular paragraphs that I haven't already pointed out? Because as I mentioned, there are 3 issues we need to discuss, but also defenses to these things, right? So it could be contributory negligence, comparative negligence, meaning you share in the negligence that happened, right? Because although Popeye did something, Brutus, the one that came along after Popeye went to sleep and caused some of the negligence. So is it comparative? They should be jointly sharing in the blame for the accident happening and damage to Olive's land, right? So you want to discuss those particular defenses. This is the defense that Popeye would raise. Brutus would raise the defense that, perhaps Global Oil didn't do the proper screening, and Popeye's the one that actually consumed the alcohol. He just came in later and perhaps his defense might be trying to save other people from further damage. So that may be his defense. But you have to kind of think about all these things when you're going through it. And what we're into it maybe like 12 minutes already. You're going to have your screen up and already typing these things out. You're going to put the law for negligence, whether there was a duty, whether there was a breach of duty, whether there was, proximate cause, any harm done. All these things, you're going to go through all those elements for negligence. Then you're going to hit with the defenses, right? This is all within this particular essay. And like I said, it's usually maybe give yourself 20 minutes to answer the questions and realize. And then make sure you're not discussing anything they're not talking about. So I think that in this situation, there was a lot here, but not too much for you to probably go over your 20-minute time limit if you were trying to test yourself. Let me just see if there's anything else that kind of stuck out to me. When they said that Brutus ran back to Popeye's cabin, untied him, and left the cabin door unlocked. That still goes to false imprisonment because Popeye was now able to say that he was able to be free, although he didn't know that he was locked in the cabin to begin with. So you want to kind of expand on the false imprisonment, the elements of false imprisonment, and to say that he was knocked out. He didn't even know he was being imprisoned, so he was knocked out. Although the issue is against Olive, against these other things, you still want to touch on the minor issues that are there because, like I said, the object of the exam or the bar exam or the law school exam is to see what you're spotting, whether they be major or minor issues, right? So let me just go back and make sure, and feel free to comment if you see anything that I have missed, because like I said, I didn't look up the answer because I wanted to make sure I looked at it with fresh eyes. And to be honest with you, when you're in law school or taking the bar exam, other issues may come up to you, but as a practicing attorney, I know certain things that have come up to me, and I remember them from law school vaguely. The vicarious liability, they said don't discuss. So to say that the employer is vicariously liable for the acts of the employees, they said do not discuss that. And intentional torts of property. So Alice's actual land being damaged, don't get into the details of that because the issue is, her land was damaged, but as far as what happened before that is what they're kind of focusing on. Let's go back and just make sure. Excuse me. So it's been for 2 years. He's been there for 2 years. The statute says that they must test periodically. And if the abuse is discovered, the company must relieve the individual of duty. Like I said, there was no discovering of the abuse, so they shouldn't have relieved him. At this point, they perhaps should relieve him now that they have discovered that he's drunk alcohol while operating a ship. I think that's about it that I saw in here. So I'm gonna stop sharing the screen. That's what I got from this particular essay. And I'm gonna, like I said, I'm gonna put the link on here so that you can see. It came from Touro Law School, but I want to do it because I know everybody approaches law school exams or bar exams differently, but that's what I would personally do. Test yourself, make sure you know all your law, because what you're basically doing is pulling out the facts from the fact pattern and matching it up to a law that you already know. Make sure you're realizing all the defenses to any causes of action that you do, and then keep moving to the next essay, right? When you're on a bar exam, you have at least 5. You cannot be laboring the point. Even with the law school exam, you can't be laboring anything because you don't have time for that. So that's my sense on it. I try to make it, like I said, succinct as possible so that you could understand and appreciate that you shouldn't be spending too much time on it. We have, let me share my screen with you. We have a whole pre-law, law school and beyond playlist. And let's see. And in the last, make sure you guys can see. So we've been doing this channel since April of 2020. We've done over almost 100 videos, 93 videos on pre-law, law school, and beyond. But as you can see, we have student law videos, we have reaction videos, HBCU, how to brief a case. That's a popular one. The last year we did how to think like a lawyer, legal writing, how much do lawyers make. These are all things that we've done over the years. We've done Confessions of a Black Lawyer, where we interviewed some other attorneys. Check it out if you haven't already checked out our playlist. And this is all the playlists we've done. We do travel vlogs. We do vlogs about local businesses, local eateries, things of that nature. We try to keep you up to date with student loan stuff, breaking news about student loan, and just things that we feel are relevant, personal finance, things of that nature. So I want to make sure to do a plug for that for those of you who are new to the channel, so that you know to kind of peruse around in our playlist and see what is good for you. But that's what I have for today. Hopefully you found it useful. Make sure you comment in the comment section and hit that thumbs up so that it shares it with the greater YouTube community. Thank you guys. And Tracy's going to be doing a video soon, so make sure you be on the lookout for her video, and I'll see you in the next video.